so here we are, the post Serious Viking 2022 game review. Wow, 650 players, dynamic AO that the Guardian Center is. What did we see from our view? I have Eastern Advisor, I got Western Advisor, I've got Battlefield circulation. Guys, best parts of the battlefield by objective. You were all over the battlefield. Where did you see the big fights?
Two that immediately come to mind is going to be Betty.
Oh, yeah.
Sure, it was Betty. And then good old April. The battle of the two buildings intersection. We called that one the Hornet's Nest.
Yeah, the Hornet's Nest.
Yeah.
So was it phase 1, Saturday? You guys call it JDAM in. You assault the building, building 13. Okay. You guys call it JDAM in. Hit building 13. Like, it took us a few seconds to find out.
Let's not forget, both airborne started on each side.
Oh yeah.
Of April.
Oh yeah. So pre-deployment. Now let's start with that. Pre-deployment. Literally, Joe Chapa is literally like, oh God, at StartX. And then yeah, the Hornet's Nest. You're south. This is the Hornet's Nest. I was like, yeah, Raj, coach, that is the Hornet's Nest. So getting back to that JDAM drop, you guys were like, oh, you guys dropped it on that. Oh. It was like, wait a minute. Both sides called in within 20 seconds of each other. It just bam, bam, bam. And it was 60 KIA. It was just, wow.
And it was just like the very first initial drop all over again. Who could get the building at that point because there was forces outside of both buildings.
So from those, okay, so you say April and Betty, from the Western headquarters, where was the big fights as you were tracking?
I would say Betty definitely was, but April was, I think, probably being the most important objective on the field. From our perspective.
Okay.
So from our perspective, that was the one that we wanted to try to control our objectives from and use that as a reference line to form up a defense.
Yep.
Between those two, it was brutal. And I got to give the Eastern side a lot of credit for the way they drew us into the fight in Betty.
Yeah. So Eastern view, what did you see?
So I would definitely say the number one point of control on the map was definitely Betty for us, because it gave our Vics a chance to get out into the hardball.
Yeah.
Without that, they would have to go around the lake, and then they were getting stuck by the subway tunnel. So technically, to get our technicals out of our AAs, we had to control Betty, because that was our main highway. That was our intersection to get our Vics into the city.
Yeah.
So not only did we want to control it, we also wanted to push them away from that focus. So our other main control point, in my opinion, as the advisor, would have been Monica, because that secured the Vic route to get into the city, to get into the fight.
They can hit Betty, make that south turn on Astros.
And have a free flow into the backside down towards Cindy to get around to the tunnels T1, T2. And that secured our Vic's movement. Without Betty and without Monica, our Vics would have been dead on the field.
And that actually was what pushed us back to Dawn and back around to Cindy.
Yes.
Yeah. Because that area was so much more defended.
And that got you guys down to Susan during phase 2 and part of phase 3.
Mm-hmm.
Subway fight, tunnel fight. Everybody goes to Guardian Center because of the subway and the tunnels. I have to say that it was small units, squad level, less than 6 guys in the subway station. Both when it was at Tango 4 and when it was at the actual subway station. There were some good fights in there, to be sure.
A lot of vehicle drop off.
Yeah.
Transportation dropping off well over a squad size element to a fire team element, and storming it on both sides.
Yeah.
Both sides.
So I give it to both teams. They were really using the guys from Florida, on Western, overloading that truck, doing the Carolina squad action, getting them all over the battlefield. Eastern, I think Eastern has come into their own with vehicle usage.
Oh, absolutely. I think they're embracing the whole mechanized infantry aspect of the game.
Yeah, and that's been a long time coming.
And they need it.
Yeah.
They absolutely need it.
So going into phase 2, Saturday, 1800 to 2300, what did you see from the battlefield perspective?
Battlefield's perspective, as soon as, of course, sun was still up, it was kind of the same action, same movements. But as soon as the sun started going down, we gave that ability to light up the whole entire city.
Yeah, you went wide light first.
And then after that, the rolling blackout just kept coming. And once the whole city was basically dark except for rooftop and second floor. You know, it gave people the ability to start doing small movements. And I saw a lot of that on both sides, 2-man groups, 3-man groups, infiltrating each objective individually, and I think that worked out very great.
So, before I get the Eastern perspective, I was riding with you on that one. We saw a lot of great bounding, small unit level bounds going from building to building, block to block, using the shadows that you had created. What was enabling that from the view of the Eastern?
Well, I'd have to admit that the biggest game changer for Eastern side, for the night phase and for low light was definitely that drone footage.
11 hours in the air.
That man, he put in work.
Yes,
And,
Tim Rideout, man, wow.
Wow, yeah, Tim did a fantastic job, and that drone was a game changer. It really was, because even when you can't, we had thermal imaging.
Yeah.
And even though you can't identify targets based on color or based on patches or whatever camouflage that they're wearing, you can do it by orientation on where the fight is. So if you know that you have friendly elements, and you're following them with the drone, and all of a sudden you've got a man laying down in the trees, and there's contact being made, you can automatically identify where the targets are, which even helped with the supporting fires, the mortar rounds, the JDAMs. We could actually pinpoint where their strikes would be. And it was a game changer when you're taking 15 or 20 men out with a single mortar.
And as your guys were getting attrited, guys were stepping off the field to go rest, Freddie was moving what he did have around the enemy.
Contact to get in behind them.
That was
So when they would set up their frontal assaults and expect us to come in at a wave, we were like, nah, why don't you move around to the west side? And Freddie had a fantastic plan of moving his men around contact to stay mission focused on the objectives.
Yep. View from the west at night.
Well, once we realized that that asset, our game had to adjust. And I think that's the cool part about this game, is because you learn new things by what the enemy does. So we had to learn how to move differently at night.
The enemy was voting. Yeah.
We had to move. We learned how to move differently at night. We were able to watch. Since you can see the drone, and there's probably a little bit of frustration there that you couldn't do anything about.
Roger.
Yeah. But you had to make adjustments, and it teaches you to be a little bit more disciplined in how you move in the game, especially through open spaces. But the fight got more intense, especially as the light went down. Not everybody had night vision assets.
I don't think you really needed it.
No, but it was nice to have some in areas, key areas, so we could cut those areas off.
Dawn.
Right.
Yeah.
But the fight still it was just as intense. I think once we realized that we needed that the Eastern forces had moved their dock, and we were, looking at from their game plan from a different perspective,
Right.
It changed our game a little bit. But that drone was
So I think a major sustained for Western was learning on the fly.
right.
And that was one of the great things I was glad you were in that talk for. Eastern, man, you were all in. You were all in. Hey, I'm advising you. There was a little bit of a concern, but in the phase 0 pre-planning, oh my God, he's the gunner on junkies. I don't know if we can trust him. And it was like, guys, he's your advisor. He's going to be he's going to be whispering in your ear, hey man, this, that. So they learned to trust you. That was one. And then 2, the value of your experience. All the games we played, all the times you've you've seen the big picture. Freddie's learned. He has come a long way. I can't say enough about Craig and Freddie when it comes as command. Ken Archer, those guys have come a long way as command staffs.
Chief staff, yeah.
Okay, phase 3. Okay, phase 3. Where was it? Where was the heat from your view?
Heat from the view kind of did change just quite a bit. April still had his contact. Monica picked up.
Yeah,
Monica picked up big
I think
time.
they figured it out, that the Betty Monica thing.
They had that eyes on the whole entire.
Yeah.
Yes, Betty was the same, but I think enough people already figured out how to hit Betty.
Yeah.
And get away from Betty. It wasn't so much the meat grinder like it was on Friday all day.
Seeing Western
changed it.
maneuver in plain daylight south of Betty, and only because they held Monica, they were able to get into the sunken village.
That's right.
They were able to start hitting Cindy. I was like, wow, awesome use of vehicle support.
We held on having Monica was huge for us, not Monica,
Nicole, that gave you guys a north
because we
river.
were able to launch off that point every time.
Yeah.
And that was something we knew we had to have. But you know, once again, learning on the fly, and it shows how much everybody learned because the game was so close. 30 points.
30 points, that's 30 seconds on an objective box. 1 point a second. And think about that, guys. 30 points.
That's it.
That is literally 30 seconds on one of the objectives.
Yep.
Okay, where was the heat for you guys on phase 3?
So the heat for us over there in the Eastern Talk, our main battle focus was to push out towards Wendy. So we wanted to hit
take it
Wendy.
deep.
We wanted to take it deep, so their reinforcements and their main battle forces, their company-sized elements, would have to get held down. We wanted to shape the battlefield. We wanted them to react to our contact. Henceforth, why we kind of loosened up on Monica a little bit, we loosened up on Betty. We didn't necessarily just give them the Northern Nicole objective, because every 3 minutes it was a pretty standard thing. We were dropping bombs on Rich Cudahy's head up there, and I know he wasn't very happy about that, but Rich, it was a plan. But that was to keep them distracted and keep them up north, so we could almost shape the battlefield how Freddie wanted to shape the battlefield. And I think it was a great success. Yes, it wasn't our intention to drop Monica at all. It was not. But we, you know, Sunday after the long phases on Saturday, a lot of the players, you know, battle fatigue sets in. They're tired. They weren't used to running the long iterations.
Yep.
And this just proves it, like, you know, as we bring more mill to the sim, this happens in real life too, gentlemen. For those of you who haven't been deployed, this is how it goes. Battle fatigue sets in. You get tired. You don't want to keep going all these long distance movements and everything. And Freddie planned on that. So how do we shape the battlefield to get Western to react to our contact, to keep them where we wanted them to go? But like I said, you know, as the Nutella got thin and spread thin, of course we can't have eyes on or bodies on all objectives, and neither could Western. So we had to, you know, there's sacrifices that had to have been made, and unfortunately April was just one of them. But to keep poking and probing and keep the mortars keep coming in, it gave the illusion that we were trying,
Something was going to happen.
that we were going to go there, even though we didn't have the intention to go there. It kept their forces going there.
So
It kept their
Give you
resupply
an idea
going.
how close it
Good
was.
fog of war on them.
Phase 3, both sides lost their mortars.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Both sides captured each other's mortars. And then Wendy and Nicole, Monica changed hands
Back and forth.
between
Yeah.
phases 2 and 3 more than any other objectives.
Yeah.
And that just gives you an idea of how hot the fight was, because you guys would have Cindy and we would and Betty, and we would have April, and it was just a constant slugfest. For
And then Dawn, you know, the C-130, man, it was awesome to see Freddie use sniper teams.
Yes.
Western's great at using SNOTs, you know, sniper observer teams, but now Freddie's using them, you know,
Yes.
and it's awesome. So, leaning forward, player feedback was, you wanted longer rounds, we gave you longer rounds.
Yep.
And they were like, Sal, don't listen to us next time. Sorry, we take player feedback. Longer rounds.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, so here it comes, Iron Dagger 2, 24 and a half hours. There was a player that said, Sal, you're missing 30 minutes. It's 24 and a half. And I went, all right, dude. You're right, that extra half hour really just, you were there, dude. You were like, oh my God.
That extra half hour, which we just saw,
Could have made the difference.
Made a difference.
Uh,
Yeah, absolutely right.
so-
absolutely right.
Iron Dagger, GTI, huge maneuver space, little bird. The weather, November, the weather's going to be better than it was this weekend.
brisk.
Yeah.
In the field of Eves.
Guys, get your tickets while you can, because you don't want to miss this. GTI is going to be a fantastic venue. It always is. Stonebreaker, Iron Fury, Iron Dagger. We've always had a great time. We did a Serious Viking there once.
Yeah. Tier
Iron-
1's Friday night. It's gonna have a bird.
Helicopter insertion or
Bird,
helicopter
or
extraction.
Get
So-
tickets for that one. It's gonna be a good one.
Get your tickets. They are moving really, really quickly. But to give the player who's, I'm new to TCA. You guys always do this? Like, we do nonstop, man. Continuous operations. Now, what does that mean? That means the field goes live and it stays live. The objectives don't pause. You've got to plan your rest. You've got to plan your food. You've got to everything. Hey, I got to go run to Junkies and grab more pyro. I got to go to G-Base and grab a sweet shirt. You know, I gotta go, you know, check out the Wolverine booth. That's great.
I gotta go
TikTok,
get my
Mr.
Wooby.
Wick, you
You're
know.
on, yeah, you're on your time.
Yeah.
I gotta go get my Wooby so I can sleep next to the objective all night to
Yeah.
make sure it doesn't.
Royal Rifles, you know.
Yeah.
Guys, get your tickets quick. They're on sale. And then, you know, coming soon, February,
Ooh, I know we're scoping out some new
we're
things.
looking at some good stuff. And then March, we're right back at GTI for Stonebreaker, the big one. So, guys, I know, of course, every time we do a video, somebody in Texas, they say, what are you doing, Starburst? Guys, keep an ear to the ground. April may be a good month. So,
Put your ear to the ground, listen for hoof beats. All right.
yeah,
Cat's coming.
Yeah, the cat's coming. Big takeaways. Last one, yeah, one each.
Big takeaway from this event.
It's going forward into Iron Dagger.
Oh yeah, guys, you gotta plan your packing correctly. So that way you're not killing yourself by going all the way far on the objective, dying, coming all the way back. Oh, I'm out of ammo. I gotta go back. Make sure you pack a small assault pack. That's all you need is a very small assault pack. So that way you don't have to get off the field so much. It's a non-stop event, but why do you want to cut out on your time? Because more time you're not on field, you are possibly hurting your team, your forces from pushing forward.
None say they can't stop, set up a combat outpost, eat a licky and chewy bar.
ORPs,
Yeah.
you know.
We're trying to coach them into that, you know, sustainment pack.
Yeah.
You know,
The little things, little disciplines that we learned just this past weekend, staying off the command med, stuff like that.
Yes.
Being disciplined with your with your fire,
Yep.
things like that.
It kind of reminded me of what you said a long time ago. It's a push to talk button, not a push to think button.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, Doc, you know, pontification versus action. You know, yeah, for sure.
I would have to say communications, even breaking down to the squad level. I mean, if you can radio up troop movements and everything, and I think Freddie did a fantastic job of keeping a good comms with his elements all weekend. And by doing so, allowed the drone to be so effective.
Yeah.
Whether it was to initiate contact, move around it, or even to call in strikes like JDAMs and mortars and smoke to provide some type of aerial support. All has to spawn from somewhere, whether it's a runner to a radio. And I think Freddie needs to carry that on to the next event, especially with the air asset that he has now. Because that air asset is going to allow the troop on the ground, if he can't see the enemy, eyes in the sky can.
Yeah.
He can.
They really fought smarter.
Very smart.
That's the
Very smart.
perfect example of combat patience.
Yeah.
Yes, and allowing
Perfect example.
allowing the battle plan to develop. You
Yes.
have to give it time. So
Instead of
we
just
always
going
think
straight for
about
a
it.
meat
with-
grinder
yeah,
every time.
right. We always
Yeah.
say, you know, oh, the plan goes to shit the first 5 minutes of the battle because the minute you get hit with a BB, you forget what you're doing. No, that's not the way it needs to do. It needs to develop. You need to give it time to mature. It's like, here's my little baby, and 15 minutes later, it's a grown man fighting a war.
Yeah.
So, well, a makeshift war.
Yeah.
So, giving the plan time to develop,
So
communications.
I'm glad you said that piece. That was the smart guy, the dead guy phrase in the tier 1.
Yeah.
Like everybody says, well, the plan, you know, it doesn't matter. The plan goes to hell after the first shot's fired. No, a
There's still
flexible,
an end goal.
flexible plan
Yeah.
can be fought,
Mhm.
but you got to give it the time that it takes. And I think that was the piece that we talked about in the Western talk. So hey guys, give time for your strategy to happen.
Yeah, and then, like little things, like learning some new things to do with vehicles, learning how to react to enemy
Yes.
vehicles, learning how to react to different technology they're using.
Yep.
These are all little things that are extremely important.
Life or airsoft imitated life
That's
this
right.
weekend.
Right. Exactly.
And
So
I mean, and to piggyback off this, yes, I did say it.
Oh!
To piggyback off what was just said, you know, giving your time, your plan to develop instead of reacting to what your enemy is doing.
yes,
Stick to your plan.
Yeah.
Fight your fight.
That's right.
Yeah.
Don't fight their fight.
That's right.
Because I, you know, viewing my viewpoint as an advisor from the eastern side, and this is no harsh comment to Craig and his boys over there, but I felt like they were reacting to what Freddie was doing rather than letting Freddie react to what they were doing, which.
there was a small moment, I think, or not a small moment. Phase 1, we saw Western was doing great. Hey man, we got a plan. Let's stick to the plan. And then over time, there were moments where it would drop down into react mode.
I think so.
And
That's how I personally feel. It came in a
Yeah.
reaction to what Freddie was, you know.
Yeah.
It was a reaction to Freddie's action.
And that's where you learn right there, like that's where there was those moments where
Yeah.
Freddie was doing something that maybe the Western forces weren't expecting him to do.
Yep.
Or it was a little different,
Yep.
and they had to decide how they're gonna react to it. Now, without deviating from their own plan.
Right.
Right.
Just reacting without deviating from the
Yeah,
plan.
and I think both leaders grew in this one.
And the caveat on the tier ones, main focus of tier ones was support by fire. Every single objective could have been taken by support by fire. I
Or
don't
if
think
it was taken, it
Yeah.
had a
Yeah.
great support by fire.
I mean, every single point, if you think about it, Betty could have had support by fire. Support by taking it and got off it.
Yeah.
April, every single one had the ability in a key
Yeah.
location with terrain,
Mhm.
met TC, to do support by fire.
Which is why the tier one was about support by fire.
Yes.
Because it teaches you how to be better in the game.
Which they take from there to there.
That's right.
All right, so, in closing, guys, we'll see you at Iron Dagger 2. Get your tickets, GTI, 11, 12, 13 November. And keep your ears to the ground about February. And in March, Stonebreaker, our 13th year. Wow, lucky 13. And
Lot of
then,
stones to be broken.
yeah, just stones to be cracked. And then Starburst, keep your ears to the ground about it, the month of April. All right, guys, we'll see you guys in the next one.
Take it easy.